Equals. The autumn mist lay heavy over the French countryside, a pale veil across the fields near Metz, where the British Expeditionary Force had settled into routine vigilance. It was December 1939, and though the world was officially at war, the battlefield slept under the uneasy truce of the Phoney War. Among the soldiers was Corporal Thomas Priday of the 1st Battalion, King's Shropshire Light Infantry, 26 years old, steady-eyed and resolute. Each dawn brought the same sound: boots crunching frost, distant artillery rumbling along the Maginot Line. "No fighting yet," muttered Private Allen beside him. "Just waiting for Germany to remember us." Priday smiled faintly, gazing eastward into the fog. Waiting was its own kind of war, silent, cold, and unending. None of them yet knew how quickly that silence could break. History was breathing in slowly, preparing for its first scar.
Equals. Days slipped into weeks, measured by the slow grind of logistics and patrols along the quiet frontier. The men built shelters from corrugated steel and sandbags, their breath fogging the chill air. Occasionally, they heard the sharp whine of Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes, invisible above the clouds. "Feels like they're ghosts," Priday said one night, as they huddled near a dim lamp in their dugout. His comrade chuckled. "Ghosts with bombs, mate." The tension was like static in the frozen mist, the stillness before thunder. Letters from home spoke of ration lines, of families proud and anxious. The soldiers trained, cleaned rifles, waited. A grim anticipation stalked the camp, drawing closer each night. The BEF had come to France to defend its allies, yet in this lull it was defending only patience itself. Priday wondered if he would even recognize the war when it truly arrived.
Equals on December 8, 1939, the calm cracked. Orders came in from headquarters, a routine patrol to the forward sector near the Saar, where French and German outposts faced each other in tense proximity. Corporal Priday's section was chosen. "It's just a look-see," the lieutenant said, voice firm to mask worry. By dusk, the patrol was underway, 6 men advancing through skeletal trees, the sound of their boots swallowed by frost and mud. Priday led with quiet precision, scanning for movement beyond the thickets. Every shadow seemed alive. A rifle bolt clicked somewhere distant, or was it sleet hitting steel? The men paused, breath steaming, hearts hammering. The silence that followed was so deep it seemed impossible that war existed at all. But the fields beyond were not empty. Unseen eyes were watching them.
Equals. Night fell fast. The forest swallowed sound, leaving only the crunch of ice and soft murmurs of direction. "Hold your spacing," Priday whispered, his gloved hand signaling forward. A thin snow began to drift, catching moonlight in brittle sparkles. Somewhere ahead, a branch snapped. "Who's there?" hissed Private Allen, rifle ready. No answer, only the groan of the wind through skeletal branches. The BEF patrol advanced in breathless caution. Then a flare arced skyward, green light bathing the forest in ghostly color. Machine gun fire erupted moments later from an unseen ridge, bullets tearing through the stillness. "Down! Cover!" Priday shouted, dragging a man into a ditch. The Germans were here. No warning, no mercy. Their first true battle had begun, not with horns or banners, but with the echo of gunfire in a frozen wood.
Equals. The firefight raged for minutes that felt eternal. Muzzle flashes lit the trees as Priday shouted orders, his voice almost lost in the chaos. "Return fire! Hold the line!" Snow burst into clouds where bullets struck. He crawled forward toward a fallen man, reaching to pull him back. Then the darkness split with a single, sharp shot. Priday fell still. The men around him froze, disbelief gripping them harder than fear. "Corporal!" Allen cried out, dragging him to cover, but it was already too late. The fight dwindled as suddenly as it began. When silence returned, it was not peace, it was absence. The patrol withdrew under cover of night, leaving behind blood darkening the snow. Corporal Thomas Priday, 1 Stone Battalion, King Shropshire Light Infantry, had become the British Expeditionary Force's first fatality of the war. December 9th, 1939. The date would be written quietly, but remembered forever.
Dawn crept slowly, gray and bitter. The survivors stood in silence as medics brought Priday's body back to the command post. There was no ceremony, no music, only the crunch of boots and the sting of the wind. A note was written for the record: killed in action, the 9th of December, 1939. The British press would not carry headlines, not yet, but among the men the news spread like frost. He went first, someone murmured. For the BEF, the illusion of safety was gone. The war was no longer a shadow across Europe. It was here, whispered through morning mist. Lieutenant Graham looked across the ridge and exhaled. "It's begun," he said simply. And somewhere across the line, the enemy watched with equal solemnity, knowing this was only the beginning of a carnage yet to unfold.
In a tent lit by a flickering lamp, Lieutenant Graham wrote the letter no commander wishes to write. To the family of Corporal Thomas Priday. His pen paused as wind rattled the canvas. How could he capture the quiet courage of the man, the humor that steadied his comrades? Outside, Alan sat cleaning Priday's rifle, refusing to let it rust. He read once more the letter unopened in his pocket, from Priday's fiancée back home, dated a week earlier. News from Ludlow, Christmas preparations, the promise of seeing him soon. The words now felt ghostly. The war had taken its first British son, not in victory or defeat, but in the anonymity of patrol. And yet his name had weight, marking the threshold between peace and the inferno about to consume the world.
Across the French and German front lines, the news barely stirred the world. A single life lost amid thousands yet to come. But among the BEF, it changed everything. Training drills now carried urgency. Laughter at rations time came with nervous glances toward the tree line. The officers reminded them, "We hold the line for what's coming." The men nodded, knowing what had begun in silence would soon roar. Somewhere beyond those woods, German corporals told their own soldiers about the English patrol that had blundered under fire. To them, too, it was the opening note of a coming storm. Priday's death had bridged two armies with the same grim truth, that peace was gone and duty alone remained. The forest where he fell stood quiet again, as though absorbing the memory into its frost-bound roots.
Winter tightened its grip on northern France. Snow buried the trenches and silenced the fields once more. The Phoney War dragged on, but every man now sensed what hid beneath its calm surface, a storm gathering strength. Pride's name was carved into a small wooden cross near the outpost, the snow settling gently on it each morning. "We'll not forget," Alan whispered whenever he passed it. By February, more troops arrived. Tanks rolled through muddy roads, engines growling like distant thunder. Letters from home spoke still of hope, of spring. But in every soldier's heart lay the shadow of December 9th, the day when one man's fall had marked the true beginning. The world was waiting again, but the silence was no longer innocent. It was the pause before fire.
Years later, when the thunder of war had finally ceased, Priday's name appeared among the first lines on memorial plaques and regimental rolls. His story, once buried in the frozen soil of 1939 France, had become a symbol, not of glory, but of sacrifice. Veterans who had survived Dunkirk and Normandy would still recall the quiet corporal who died before most had even fired a shot. Standing at his grave, beneath the calm skies of peacetime,
One could almost hear the echoes of that first exchange, the prelude to 6 years of unimaginable loss. The first casualty was not forgotten. His death marked the line between waiting and war, between illusion and reality. For Thomas Priday, duty was everything, and in that he spoke for all who followed.